Do you hear me? Okay, let's get rid of this. Hello out there. Give me a second. Hello? You good to go? All right. Hi out there. Hi IAAH Radio Plus. How you doing today? I hope you hear me round on it. What? Sound. All right. Hi out there. IAAH Radio Plus. Thanks for having me. Thank you, YouTube subscribers, all those that watch me weekly, bi-weekly, whatever, monthly. I appreciate you. Mi amores. Welcome to my show, Just Desire for Knowledge, TV Talk Radio. This week is on legal matters. Next week will be Know Your Truthville Talk. So, as I stated, at the end of every month, every Saturday, last Saturday of the month, I do on legal matters. So the topic this week on my legal matters show is, guess what? Something we don't like really talking about too much in our communities, in our neighborhoods, and I understand why. But because I work in the field of law, I figured I'd bring it up so that you can see two sides of the stories. I know last week I said you should go in. You can go in any courtroom to watch publicly. It's publicly open for you to see what's going on in the real world. However, I forgot to disclose that family court is not open to all. That's serious private family things that go on there, and matrimonial the same. Anything else like criminal and all these other ones are open to the public unless it's disclosed that it's not. Not that it matters, but I just wanted you to get a feel of what I state on my show when you watch it and the things that I've experienced and I'm telling you here that coincides with my content sometimes. Well, most of the time, even on Know Your Truthville Talk. A lot of those stuff are discussed in a courtroom, in the legal entities. So, and you guys make us a part of your your lives anyway, right? Don't you? So basically, I'm just going to open up and come into your rooms, your whatever, homes, rooms, bedrooms, wherever you are, go get that popcorn. Because we're going to talk about and discuss something now that not a lot of people like to talk about. I know that in many cultures, it's called La Policía. In some cultures, Babylon. And then in the early 1900s, because I did some research, they call police flatfoot, and in slang, I think it's called the popo. Yeah, that. Because I've heard it in the courtroom, and I heard a lot of people talk about it, and in the hood, they say, but I say in other cultures and neighborhoods, the slang for that would be popo and Babylon, and I don't remember any other ones that I can think of right now, but let's get moving on. And so, on Legal Matters today, this topic of good cop, bad cop versus the criminal mind. And here we're going to discuss how it affects us in our communities and our neighborhoods, or whatever, el barrio, whatever you call it, where you live. And the reason for that is because we don't look at it the way that it's projected to us. We some of us are one-sided, some of us aren't, or some don't care, and we need to care. We really do. So I came in to say this week, this month, on my show, this channel, I wanted to do the one thing that no one likes to talk about, and that's policing. All right, because that's something that not a lot of people talk about. So I figured I'd do it differently. The good they do and the bad ones who hurt the badge. All right. So welcome back to another episode of Legal Matters with your host, me, Judge Desire for Knowledge. Please like, share, and subscribe so that, other people will see it, basically, because it's not like I look to get paid on this. If it does happen, it does. I'm not here for that. I'm here to give the message. So today's topic sparks heated debates across the board. As I stated, it's a topic that can divide families, communities, and even friendships at some point. Because you get those kind of friends and people and families that you can discuss how you feel, and it gets out of a debate into arguments. And it happens. It happens to everyone. And sometimes people won't speak to you anymore because of it. It's like on social media. When people start talking about politics, you get a lot of people that will now not only block you, but delete you because they didn't like what you have to say. So in other words, we don't have rights to speak our own mind if they don't believe in what you're saying. So that's silliness. That's immature. So let's discuss this as adults, as we're talking about reality here. Because when it comes to policing in America, the truth is the badge has two faces, all right? There's a good cop and then there's the bad cop. And the problem is that the public sees both, all right? And sometimes they won't see the good cop for who they are. They're just, that one bad cop. That's it for you. Yep, everybody's bad, So let's start with the good cop, all right? The one who shows up when your life is falling apart. The one who answers the call at 2 a.m. when something goes wrong, right? Who are you going to call? Ghostbusters? I mean, come on. The officer who pulls someone out of a wrecked car, because it does happen. It really does, unfortunately. Hopefully that never happens to any of us. But yeah, those are the ones that's going to help you there. Besides the fire department and the ambulance, that's another story. We're talking about police today. And the one who talks someone down instead of escalating a situation. I've seen that happen a lot, of cops that saved lives. Excuse me. Okay. And the cops who knows the kids in the neighborhoods by name. Remember those days? Not far from me, but it doesn't happen no more where they're policing by foot. I think that's why they were called Flatfoot, I was told. But then they were able to know our names and the family names, even if not the children's names. The one who says, go home and don't ruin your life tonight instead of making an arrest on you or giving you a ticket, right? It does happen, but to some of us, not all of us. And I understand why a lot of people don't like policing or police, period. Because for some people, that's not the way it goes. But anyway, we're going to get to the discussion now. That's the cop who's understanding something important here, the good ones. The badge is not just authority, it's responsibility. They understand that every situation needs or requires force. Not need or require force, which is true. Not every situation does, but we're going to talk about that later. Not every mistake needs punishment either. Sometimes what people need is help. And the court system knows that because we intentionally sometimes we'll have to give that help to someone who's on drugs by giving them drug counseling when they're arrested instead of jail time, which some police are for it and some do not like that. So it depends on the situation. But I'm just going to explain it as it is. But it is true that not every mistake needs punishment. Sometimes what people do need is actual help. And, it's really sad that we have a lot of homeless out there who need help as well mentally, and there's not enough space for them. It's horrible. But either way, we're going to go back to policing. So let's talk about the bad cops now, because ignoring it is where our trust starts to break down, right? So we can't ignore the bad cop or the good cop, okay? Because that's where we break down. By ignoring that, we're becoming ignorant to seeing the facts, okay? And that's why our trust starts to break down. The bad cop is the one who forgets what the badge stands for, by the way, just in case. The one whose power go to their head. We've seen that a lot. The word police, what? Okay, officer evolved from police enforcer. According to Google, yeah. And enforcement is one of the words that they're trying to get rid of now because it sounds horrible. It's like, we're going to enforce. Yeah, they need to come up with a simpler name, not enforce. I think that's why they stopped calling them that, because it was kind of too much enforcement. Just think of the power of that name, enforcing something. It feels like you're pushing it. You're going too much in force. You're forcing it, in other words. So basically, that's probably why I remember that word somewhere. I'm not going to go there right now. Thank you for participating and sending me that chat. That was good. Yeah, that was years ago. It evolved from that, and there's a reason for that, but that's another show. Thank you so much for sharing. The bad cop is the one who forgets what the badge stands for, the one who lets power go to their head, all right? Let's say they don't. They don't? No, they do actually. The one who escalates instead of de-escalates, yeah, they do. And the one who uses force when it's not necessary. Those are the bad cops, okay? Who treats people with disrespect, who believes the badge puts them above the law instead of under it. Yeah, we're just discussing the bad ones right now. That's the cop people's remembers are the ones that always ends up in the news. So yeah, that's the bad one. That's the one that goes viral. And here's the problem, because we're not seeing good cops go viral, right? But the problem here is one bad cop can undo the work of 100 good cops, all right? Because the public doesn't separate them in the moment. When they see this, what they see is the uniform, the badge, and they start asking, is this the one of the good ones or the bad ones? Which you have every right to think that way. And basically, who wouldn't? If you've been put in a situation where it was race or even your orientation, sexual orientation, whatever it is that you were discriminated against or treated wrong treatment, whatever case it may be for you or anyone else you may know, of course you're going to feel that way. Is this a good cop or a bad cop, right? Now let's bring this back to you. You're the viewer, the listener, because everyone watching and listening now falls somewhere in the spectrum. So when I say what I say, it's because we all fall there in whatever case it may be, because even if we weren't arrested or ever pulled over, it affects us in some way, because it's our communities, it's our families, it's our children. It could be anyone, all right, that we know, a friend, a co-worker. Some of us have had great experiences with police, let's just say it, and some haven't. That's real. And some of you trust law enforcement completely, and others question it, and it's understandable. And most people are somewhere in the middle, to tell you the truth. It's like they respect the job, but we respect it to be done correctly, and that's reasonable. All right. It's a reasonable position, because at the end of the day, this isn't about choosing sides, really. It's about expectations. We expect the police to protect. After all, their motto is to protect and serve. That's all we know. I know that because I worked alongside a lot of cops. I won't mention which county, which court, but yeah, in my beginning of my journey in the courthouse, in my employment, yeah, and I've met a lot more great ones than I see bad ones. But then when I was outside of the courtroom, pulled over or things like that, yeah, you can say I've seen maybe one, even in the courtroom, one racist one, or one that thinks they're full of power, but not many. So it depends. But we do expect them to be held accountable, and when they don't, that's not anti-police, that's pro-justice. When they don't, we need to have them not become anti-police, but pro-justice. Look for justice instead, because there are the cops that are going out there each and every day doing their jobs for real, trying to save you from whatever is, against following law and order. But let's take this conversation to another level, though. We talked about good cops and bad cops, right? But now let's introduce the third player in the equation. And that third player would be the criminal. Of course. Of course. You can't have cops without criminals. All right? Don't forget that part. Does anyone ever talk about them, though? I rarely see people talk about criminals as much as they do about police, unfortunately. Because every finger is always pointed at the bad cop. And that one bad cop makes all of the cops bad. So when it comes to the criminal, I don't see them pointing fingers unless it happens directly to them, which is sad. But you know, a criminal is a criminal. Once they are convicted, not all of them, but the majority has done the crime. Believe me, I've seen it. And the few that has not, unfortunately, was probably in one of those categories where the police was a bad cop, racist, or whatever the case may be, force of power, whatever, the justice wasn't done there. So a lot of people have spent time in prison that didn't deserve to, and my condolences to those that have. But you have a system where you can now go, I know wasting all those years, if it was years, months, days, it's still time. You have every right to sue the system for that. But let's move on. Criminals are part of that equation, though. We can't forget. They benefit when the line between good and bad, don't forget this, policing gets blurred when the line between good and bad, which means that the community that looks at the part that is bad all the time and not the good enables criminals to do their job behind the scenes. Now you've got them liking the fact that you are unsure about which side you want to choose. Like, this isn't about sides, this is about safety. So these criminals know that, and they benefit when the line between good and bad gets blurred, because there's always an opponent in the equation. So you got to be careful about that. That's the reason how we have policing. There's always someone on the other side of that batch, okay? And the real story is not just good cop versus bad cop. It's good cops and bad cops versus criminals who are watching everything. And that's the point. I've been saying this for years. They watch everything. You not snitching because you don't want to snitch on putting someone away that's going to kill off your whole neighborhood. You consider that word as a snitch. Oh, okay. So don't protect your children. Don't protect your families, because you're going to protect the criminal. You know, for me, I don't believe in that word snitch. I say you have a right to protect your neighborhoods, and that right gives you the right that anyone that comes in there, that doesn't make you a snitch. Don't let them tell you that. That's exactly what the criminals want you to believe. So this way, if you don't tell or you do tell, all right, it's up to you. But what does your community look like? Are you allowing it to stay the way it is if it's in a bad shape, or are you going to fix it? All right. And you know what? It's going to come a time and place where you're going to have full arms against criminals. And we're not even talking about the bad cops right here, because the system is going to take care of them, hopefully. But basically, this is, like I just said, it's good cops and bad cops versus criminals who are watching everything. So be very aware, and I'll tell you why, because let's break this down, okay? Criminals are not clueless. Let's just get that right. They study behavior, they watch patterns, they test the limits. They really test the limits. I mean, really bad. I've seen some that actually, they know my name now. Judge Desire for Knowledge. Mrs. Judge Desire for Knowledge, how are you today? I mean, they've been in the system so many years, back to back, month to month, a rotation, okay? It's like an evolving door, some of them, and so they get to know you names. They'll find it out, they'll test you and things like that. They watch patterns, and over time they learn something very, very important, okay? Not all cops operate the same way. That's what they're learning. Some cops are sharp, disciplined, by the book. Others, well, they're predictable, aggressive in the wrong ways, or inconsistent. And criminals pay attention to that difference. Don't forget, they're good at what they do. Some of them, but most of them, especially if they've been in the system as a rotation, that's their home, their second home. A smart criminal wants to avoid the good cop. You know why? Because the good cops is controlled, professional, observant, and as well, they don't overreact. Good cops, they don't make emotional decisions. They build cases. Good cops gather evidence. Good cops think long term. That's the officer who doesn't just arrest you. They make sure you stay arrested. The good ones, all right? What is it? Criminals? I'm sorry, I'm reading one of my respondents. Criminals are like CEOs. Yeah, I was going to say that too. I mean, if they took all the time, criminals, to take all the skills that they do to do wrong and do it in the legal aspect, they would be CEOs. They might be billionaires or millionaires by now, at least millionaires, right? In a legal stance. But like I was mentioning what criminals do, the good cops don't overreact. This is why they're a threat to a criminal. They're the officer who doesn't just arrest you, they make sure you stay arrested. Getting back on track. Sorry, guys. Someone was commenting, one of my followers, subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. Like, share, and subscribe here. Thank you so much. Please like this video when you're done. It's dangerous for a criminal when you're consistent, when you gather the evidence, because good cops think long term. They're not going to have you sitting there getting away with a murder because there's no snitches or no one is telling who did what. Yeah, cops are going to need a little bit of clues to get to the answers, and we're thinking, well, let them get it themselves. It's not helping your community, is it? It's killing it, and criminals know this. But it's dangerous for a criminal when they see that a cop is very dedicated to being good in what they do, because you're not dealing with authority, you're dealing with consistency when it comes to a good cop, all right? They most likely not going to change good cops. Now let's flip it. If this is a bad cop, all right, a criminal could actually use that for their advantage, because a bad cop is predictable in a different way. I ain't no snitch. That's a good one. I like that. I ain't no snitch. I hear you. Okay. A criminal can actually use that to their advantage, because a bad cop is predictable and in a different way, though. They might cut corners, bad cops, ignore procedures. That's what bad cops do. They might escalate too quickly, yep, with force. They let emotions take over. And then what happens? Cases fall apart. That's the truth. I've seen it where they get dismissed, man. Like, whoa, you'd be surprised. And if you knew what the case topic was about, you'd be disgusted, okay? Because there's no way so criminal that done what they've done should get away with any of the stuff I've seen. But, and it doesn't happen all the time, but it can, and it does. And this is when you have someone that doesn't work good on their cases, and the criminal knows a little more than that cop. And usually it's the bad one because they haven't done their job. And when that happens, cases fall apart, evidence gets thrown out, just like we said, rights get violated, and suddenly, as we just said, the criminal walks. Yeah, they walk. They definitely walk. And that's not because they're innocent, though, you know? It's because the process was broken. Let's just sink that in. Let that sink in. That if it's broken by a bad cop, these criminals get to walk. That's what we have to worry about, how we allow these bad cops to continue to be bad in our communities. A bad cop and the criminals getting away with it. These two are the worst. Those are two criminal minds put together, right? A bad cop doesn't just hurt the public. A bad cop can keep criminals, help criminals escape accountability. And that's really important, that we don't let them escape accountability. Otherwise, they'll redo the same thing over and over, break the same crime, still do the same thing. I've seen the rotations. So now that you've got a dangerous dynamic when you have a bad cop and a criminal. But people don't look at this. They don't address the situations that way. They see it their way, and they're, what's it called? Tunnel blind, whatever it is. Blinded like the horse blinders. And then when you get down to talking about it, maybe you will see it differently, and maybe not. Maybe you'll still be blinded by what you believe cops are. And like I said, you can't put all the cops in the same boat. What we can do, however, is report the bad ones, and the policing in your neighborhoods, in your communities. Those same cops that work with those have to also, when they're working alongside a bad cop, report that person to IA, Internal Affairs, in case you don't know, so that he or she can be scoped out. But until we do certain things like this, we cannot complain if we're sitting back and just smacking blah, 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 blah. No, we got to take a hand in this. If it's your community and you want to protect the children, the senior citizens, yourselves, your home, your families, your everything. I mean, it's important that we do it. That's not a snitch. That's called maturity. That's saying I'm an adult in this situation and we want to stop it. You know what I mean? But let's get back to the case. Good cops trying to build solid cases and bad cops unintentionally creating loopholes is a disgusting thing. Criminals sitting back watching both sides, okay? Just like they watch the public. When we are anti-police, that's sad, because when we say that, these criminals are saying, yeah, that's exactly what we want you to believe. Duh. I mean, it's like, what do criminals come to do? They come, where did you see these words? Let me just say it. They come to steal, kill, and destroy. Who does that? Only you who know, right? It's in the book of righteousness. Only who comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Well, relate that to criminals and you'll stop protecting them, because I know I'm not protecting a criminal ever in my lifetime. They're going to jail if I can help it. And I'm packed too, just in case. I'm not scared of them, and I'm going to take whatever measures it is to protect my community, my home, my family, and anything else I need to protect there. And that's right. It's just called right. It's my right, and it should be your right too. So when, like I was saying, good cops trying to build solid cases and bad cops unintentionally creating loopholes, and criminals, like we said, are sitting back watching us both, adapting, learning, exploiting the weaknesses as well as the civilians' weaknesses, civilians being you and myself. Yeah, they're watching us. Seeing that what side are we going to be on would give them the opportunity to do the crimes and know that you're not going to do anything about it. So now you're the weak ones and they're the strong ones. I mean, let's talk about it. Let's talk about their mindset first. A good cop approaches the job like a chess game, right? Every move is calculated, every step intentional, all right? They're thinking, how do I stop this person the right way? That's a good cop. How do I make sure this holds up in court, which is exactly what they need to do on our end. They have to hold it up there. How do I protect the case, their cases? That's a good cop. That's called discipline. That's training. That's professionalism. But bad cops, this is their mind thinking. Their mindset is they play checkers, reaction-based, emotional, immediate. All right? I'm going to control the situation right now, no matter what. That's a bad cop. That's how they control. Their mindset is all about that. But here's the problem. Policing isn't just about control in the moment. It's about what happens after. Okay? And what happens after affects every last one of us. And especially what happens after when you're not in control of everything. This is what happens with a bad cop. What happens after is in the courtroom, in the legal process, and under scrutiny. You know what I mean? So basically, this is the loopholes for a bad cop, because now it's going to be scrutinized. They have to make it stick in the courtroom. And if they're doing all these things emotionally with force and stuff, things get thrown out. They're not going to stick. Because if you lose the case there, in the courtroom, in the legal process, under scrutiny, everything you did on the street means nothing. It means nothing. And criminals know this. They know the law. Maybe not perfectly, but enough. I've seen them. And they laugh when they come into the courtroom. Believe me, it's like this is nothing for them. All right, they're in tune. Instead of getting a real education, this is their education. So don't forget that. They know when their rights are violated. They know when procedure isn't followed, and they use that every single time. We've all seen that. You on social media, me in real time. Now let's get real about something. Not all criminals are masterminds. All right, some are reckless, some are desperate, which is true. I've seen those that are desperate. and that's the ones you want to be careful about. Some make dumb decisions, those two, but the ones who stay in the game, the repeat offenders, those are the ones I was talking about. Yeah, they learn, they evolve, they adapt to the system, and if the system shows inconsistency, they exploit it. And I've seen that in the courtroom. I've seen that when cops look shook up. Those are the cops that aren't doing their jobs, that have not built a case because they're emotional, and they probably arrested them on reasons they shouldn't have, and things like that, and so on. So now, who's more dangerous to a criminal? The good cop or the bad cop? The good cop, because the good cop closes doors. All right, they're not going to allow them to walk, have a loophole or anything. And the bad cop accidentally leaves everything open. They leave them open. All the doors are open when it's a bad cop. Here's the twist, though. The twist here is, who is the more dangerous to the public's trust, though? That's where it flips, because the bad cop doesn't just affect criminals. They affect how the entire community sees law enforcement. So that's real. All right. And with that being said, people start questioning everything. Was that stop justified? Was that force necessary? Can I trust this officer? And when the doubt spreads, it doesn't hurt police. It really doesn't. It helps criminals, because now witnesses hesitate. Everybody doesn't do what they're supposed to do. So here, guess who wins here? The criminal, of course. And we allow it, okay? So don't say you're not, because the bad cop shouldn't be there. They took an oath of office to protect and serve. True. But as long as you stay there and fixated on that, the criminals know it. So we got to be smarter than that, all right? People don't cooperate, communities pull back, and criminals operate in that gap. So be very careful. That's the part where people don't always connect, okay? Bad policing doesn't just create outrage. It creates opportunity. And who's the opportunity for? Opportunity for crime to grow. Of course it is. I've been saying this for years. Opportunity for criminals to move around freely. I mean, really free. Opportunity for the system to weaken because of it. I mean, we're allowing this stuff, most of us that are only looking at this partially instead of impartially. So where does that leave us? All right, where does it leave us? Right in the middle of a three-way dynamic. Yep, good cops trying to do it right, bad cops making it difficult. And that's, here's the bottom line, okay? If you want safer communities, you don't need more policing, you need better policing, right? Yeah, I say we all do. We need them better trained, one that's disciplined and consistent and accountable for whatever they do. This way, we don't have the criminals coming in, messing up the system, knowing that they're working through the facts of us not supporting police. And that's where it all boils down to. If we're not going to support them, then they get away with everything they do because they know. And then you got the good cops sitting up there for you, and then with all the anti-police stuff going on, they're like giving up. I mean, it's their job. They no longer feel it's necessary to be that good cop any longer because we're not backing them up. And this is where the criminals are. I mean, how stupid are we going to be here? They're looking at this too. I mean, how much people out here can say, I'm going to support the criminal. And if you are, just turn my channel off and don't come back here, because I'll never support criminals because they're not doing good for our communities. They're here to kill, steal, and destroy. Why don't you go to work like everybody else? And with that being said, because the goal isn't just to arrest criminals, is what I'm saying. It's to stop them in a way that holds up. Hopefully we can help them in the system. I'm not saying they should all just go to jail. These people need help. Maybe our system isn't doing the job properly, or maybe not, but they can't be free on the streets. But either way, to do harm to others. But like I said, Our goal isn't just to arrest criminals. That's not the goal. We just need to stop them in a way that holds up. It's to build cases that don't collapse. It's to enforce the law without creating those loopholes. So when people say good cop, bad cop, understanding that criminals are part of that equation is really important, and that they benefit when the line between good and bad policing gets blurred. And this happens all the time. And basically, in my final thoughts, a strong society doesn't choose between holding police accountable or holding criminals accountable. It does both, okay, at the same time, with the same commitment to fairness. That's what's needed for all of us, because if either side escapes accountability, the system doesn't just weaken, it fails, right? And when the system fails, what happens? Yeah. When the system fails, everyone pays the price. That's reality. And the real goals, like I was saying, is hold the badge accountable, hold the criminal accountable, and protect the integrity of both law and order. That's how we're going to do it, folks. That's exactly how you build trust. That's how to build safety. And that's real talk. So thank you for listening to me today here on Legal Matters. I'll be back the end of April, the last Saturday of April, with another topic on legal matters. I hope that this resonated with you guys, that you realize the truth here is not about one-sided. We have to think of all sides of the equations. And as I stated, look into it deeply. If you want to save your communities, build your children's, the next generation into a better generation than what we were brought up in, and those before us, who didn't have the kahuna. Who didn't have the, how do I say, I don't want to use that word, but didn't have the strength or the mental strength to do it, who were too fearful to stand up. That's no longer going to be. Our new generation is going to be different. We're going to take it in a civil matter and do it right. Civility is what's important, not in a manner where it hurts us in our communities, but in a better manner. All right. So please like, share, and subscribe. And like I said, I will see you for Legal Matters, those that like this show on Legal Matters, every last Saturday of the month. And next week, Saturday at 3, I will see you for Know Your Truth, Real Talk. And I'm going to do that men's show that I told you about. Guys, come check this out, because last week was girls, was the ladies. So it's your turn, guys. And if you don't know, go check it out on YouTube. Drama Queens versus Strong Women. Well, I got something for you guys coming up next Saturday. All right, so see you all there. I hope your weekend is grand and beautiful and safe. Keep our communities safe, and make sure you do your job there. Keeping everyone in your families, your children, those around you, your home safe from people that come to kill, steal, and destroy, because they don't know any better. And I was so glad to have you all here today to just get this out, because it's hard to talk about a lot of debates going on in the media. And I just wanted to set this clear. Yeah. And let you know that it's not all what it looks like sometimes. And you have to look between the, what is it called? You got to look in the mirror, right? When you see that you're not doing your part here, what's your existence for? Why? Don't be a waste of space. You have a voice as well. You can bring your voice out too. So bringing you the truth and nothing but the truth here on Legal Matters with me, Judge Desire for Knowledge, is now adjourned, and I will see you all next week. Thank you for having me. I really enjoy every moment that I have giving the message out to those that need to be informed. Thanks a lot. And don't forget, thank you, IAAH Radio Plus, with all the best DJs. Go check them out. All the best DJs and music in town, different genres. Go check them on IAAHradio.com. And for me, IAAH Radio Plus every Saturday at 3. If you can't see me, tune in there. All right. And DJ Bugging Hard every Tuesday on IAAH Radio Plus as well. He's a good DJ. He's my hubby. All right. And he's pretty good. Yeah, he put out some real sound the other day. But anyway, thank you all. Have a great Saturday. End of your weekend coming up. Oh, beginning, right? Enjoy, guys.